Hi there! Welcome back to Love Good Kitchen. I'm Matthew and I'm so glad you're joining me today. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I do hope that if you haven't done so already, you consider subscribing, hit that little bell icon so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Today we're going to be making some cookies, some butterscotch pecan cookies, and I'm excited because who doesn't love a good cookie? I guess if you're allergic to nuts, you would not want to make this recipe, but otherwise, give it a try. I know some people might think that anything butterscotch is an old fogey type thing, but you know, I say if it's delicious, I'm all in. So the ingredients that we're going to need today is 1 cup of a buttermilk pancake mix. I'm using this. It's Aunt Maple's buttermilk pancake and waffle mix. I get it at one of my favorite stores, Aldi, but you can use any buttermilk pancake or waffle mix. So we have 1 cup of that. You need 1 package of an instant butterscotch pudding. This is Jello brand, and this is the 3.4 ounce size. So you need a package of that. We've got 1/3 cup of butter that has been melted. We've got 1 lonely egg, and we have 1/2 cup of chopped pecans, or pecans, depending on how you say it, what part of the country you're from. Actually, these came pre-chopped. The bag of chopped pecans was actually cheaper than the whole pecans, so I went with that. If you get the whole ones, or if you have some in your cupboard, just give them a rough chop. They don't have to be super fine, but be sure to chop them up so that it'll be easier to incorporate into your cookie dough. You can also toast these a little bit in a dry pan if you want. It brings out the flavor sometimes. I didn't choose to do that today. I'm just going to use them as is. But someday we'll do a video on toasting up some nuts in a pan on the stove. It's super easy. You can also do it in the oven. So those are the ingredients that we're going to need. So we're going to start by mixing these together. So this is our 1 cup of buttermilk pancake mix, and then our 1 package of butterscotch instant pudding. Put that right in. And then our 1/3 cup of melted butter. Got my handy scraper here so I don't leave any buttery goodness in my bowl. Okay. Put that there. Then we've got 1 egg. I know, I'm being naughty. You're not supposed to crack your eggs directly into your mix in case you get a little shell on them. But I took a chance and it worked out. Okay, we're going to mix that together until it's well combined. You want everything to be moistened. You don't want a bunch of dry bits in there. It's already coming together. It doesn't take long. I don't really feel you need to use a mixer for this. I suppose you could, and then it would only take 5 seconds, but that didn't take long. This is very little effort, and it's already coming together. Okay. So there we go. You can see that all of those components are blended together. And last but not least, we're going to take our 1/2 cup of chopped pecans and stir those in. You're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And just stirring those pecans in. You don't want any cookies or any bites that don't have some yummy pecans. Okay. That's pretty good. A few of the pecans are loose, but that's okay. As we scoop them out to put on our baking sheet or baking pan, we can just add them in there. Not a problem at all. Okay, so the next thing I want to share with you is that I'm going to be baking some of them on my Pampered Chef rectangular stone, and I have brushed this very lightly with a little bit of oil. I just use vegetable oil with the pastry brush, just a little bit, and the reason is because this stone, I love it. It bakes really evenly, the heat gets distributed, it doesn't burn on the bottom of your baked goods, but they're beautifully done, a little bit crispy. But this is practically brand new. I've used it one time before, and so until it gets seasoned, they call it, and starts to get a nice brown color, then it becomes very non-stick. But because it's almost new, I don't want my cookies to adhere to the stone. So I did brush it with a little tiny bit of vegetable oil. I don't think all the cookies are going to fit on this one stone, so I also have a trusty half-sheet baking pan that I put a silicone liner on. You could use parchment, or if you don't have any of those, you could use your cookie sheet or baking pan, but just grease it a little bit so that they don't stick. So now I've got my scooper. This is the medium size. I believe this one holds about 2 tablespoons. So we're going to use that to scoop up some dough. And I'm just going to pack it in there a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to put it onto our stone. And we're just going to keep going. You want them a few inches apart on your stone or your baking sheet, because they are going to spread a little bit and you don't want them to blend together. I'm sure if you've ever made cookies before that has happened to you at some point. You put them a little too close together and then they sort of spread out and bake together, and you end up having to cut them apart after they're done baking, which is fine, but we don't want to do that if we don't have to. And that scoop was a little bit crumbly, but no problem. I just patted it back together. Another thing to keep in mind with a baking stone of any kind, you could even do this on a pizza stone if you have one of those. It's just a different shape. But what you want to keep in mind is that whether it's cookies or biscuits or vegetables, pizza, whatever you're cooking on them, you don't want to put all of your food on one side and then have a lot of exposed stoneware. You want to kind of evenly space them out, and that helps protect your stone. So just keep that in mind. We don't usually put things in the oven with a lot of bare spots on them, but just to keep in mind. Okay, so I'm kind of smushing the scoop in a little bit as I pick it up, and then down on the sheet. This is super quick. I mean, I've been chatting, so that has added some time, but you saw that this comes together really quickly, not too many ingredients. They don't take long to bake. It's going to take about 8 to 10 minutes. Keep your eye on it, because everybody's oven is different, and it depends if you're using a cookie sheet or a stone or a baking pan. That all can affect the time it takes for your cookies to go. I forgot to get out a glass. I'll get one of these. And then what you want to do is just take the bottom of a glass, it could be anything, and just kind of smush it down just a little bit so that it flattens the top, so that they end up being a little bit more cookie shaped rather than mounds. just going to use my fingers to make sure that all the goodies are in there, and we're not going to lose any before they're baked up. Okay, so that's good. And now I'll put the remainder of them onto this pan back here. I wish we had smell-o-vision. These aren't even in the oven yet, and I can already smell it. It smells really good. Does your family like nuts? Do they like anything butterscotch? Because my family does. We love both of those things. Pretty much anything that's butterscotch. And I'm trying to think. I don't think there are any nuts that we don't like. We like them all. Peanuts, walnuts, pecans, macadamia nuts, pistachios. We love it. Yummy. Okay, let's see if we can get a few more. You should be able to get, it depends on how big your cookies, how big your scoop is, but you should be able to get about a dozen, maybe a dozen and a half. I think we'll be able to make this into one final scoop, and then I'll real quick count on my fingers, my high intensity math skills, how many cookies we have here between our two pans. Okay, and I'm going to take the glass, once again, just flatten the top a little bit. Don't go crazy, because then it'll all smush out. Oh, see, that one kind of stuck. It's all right. I'll shape that one back together. Put that in there. All right. So I'm going to squish any goodies that may have fallen out. Just get them all in there. And you know, another thing that I think would help is if you make sure that your pecans really are chopped, not fine, but if you have giant chunks or big pieces of pecan, that makes it harder for the dough to fit together. A couple of those spots where I had to go in and rework it, it's because I think the pecan pieces were maybe just a little too big and it makes it crumbly. Okay, so we've got, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this tray, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 8 on the other tray. So that's about what I said. We should expect that. So I'm going to pop these into the oven that has been preheated to 350, and they're going to cook for about 8 to 10 minutes, and I will bring you back. I'll let you know when we come back how much time it took. It may take the stone a little bit longer for the cookies to bake, because when you bake on a stone, sometimes it takes a little extra time for that stoneware to heat through before it starts to bake, but it's worth it. All right, I'll bring you back. Hi, we're back. Okay, so my regular metal half sheet baking pan, the cookies on there took 10 minutes, and the cookies that were on my rectangular Pampered Chef stone, they took 12 minutes. So, like I said, just keep an eye on it. Everybody's oven is different, and depending on what pan or cookie sheet, etc. that you're using, it will affect the cooking time. But I would say at least 8 minutes, and then after that, just take a peek, and you'll know they get just a little bit darker in color on the top and maybe on the bottom edge. So we're gonna let these cool. They're still screaming hot, but we're gonna let them cool. After about 10 minutes or so, I probably will transfer them to a cooling rack to finish cooling completely, and then we're ready to enjoy. So I hope you give these a try. They're delicious, butterscotch pecan cookies. And thanks so much for joining me today. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope to see you again soon, back here at Love Good Kitchen. Thanks, have a good day.